Welcome to the 2023 Season 4 Phase 5 edition of Friends from Work. This is a podcast about all things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's hosted by me, Kyle Sconowill, and my longtime friend, Robbie Earl. We have had some time off and some time to get our branding straight, and we still haven't. I don't know if this is Season 4. It's, welcome to 2023, but we're talking about 2022 today, so that doesn't really work. And is it weird to kick off Season 4 with a Season 3 episode? So just give us a little grace here. We'll kick off Phase 5 and Season 4 in a few weeks, okay?
Yeah, just to get it straight so it won't be confusing at all. Today we're discussing 2022 for the 2023 Friendly Awards as the start of Friends from Work Season 4, in which we will soon be covering Phase 5.
I was typing in my session title, and I still don't know if I'm supposed to call it. Is it the 2022 Friendlies or the 2023 Friendlies?
These are the 2023 Friendlies.
Okay.
But it's tricky because if it's less confusing for people, it's the best of 2022. Last year was the 2022 Friendlies best of 2021.
Either way,
this is when we hold the awards show. That's when you determine the. It's like the opposite of the way cars are marketed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cars are always marketed like a year ahead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Either way, let me start over. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to 2023. Oh gosh. I wanted that to be so much better. I didn't prep it. It just said fanfare trumpet. All right. Welcome to Friends from Work, guys. We're excited to have you here. I am as excited for this episode as I've been in a while because we haven't talked in forever. And happy holidays and happy New Year to everyone. We are pre-recording this episode, so it is our New Year right now. But we're doing that because Robbie's going to be in London for 12 days. So shout out London when you get back. So 3 weeks from now, we'll have to do a recap on how your time was and give a shout out to our UK listeners, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But welcome. I'm excited to tell you some stuff. How was your break?
Man, it was great. It was a lot of travel, which I kind of talked about a couple weeks ago on one of our last episodes before the break.
Too much.
But maybe too much. It was just weird. Like we scheduled all these trips that happened to fall right next to each other. And some of them we scheduled ourselves and some were scheduled by other folks and we didn't really have any power over it. But can't complain because they were all great. And it was just nice because this was our first time doing the holidays with folks again since 2019 because Candace and I both had COVID the last 2 years, respectively. So it was nice. It was good to get away. What about you?
Love it. Yeah. It was great. I was in Michigan for a while, obviously during that crazy snowstorm that everyone was having in the country. So not a whole lot to do outside. It was just too cold and too snowy. Couple things I wanted to share though.
Any like frozen pipe issues or anything?
No.
My other friends in Michigan were down to like one bathroom and with all the family in the house.
Really?
It was like a Christmas vacation moment.
No, I didn't hear much of that over by us. I could get into a whole long thing. I'm not going to, but we live near the lake, so you get like a lake effect. It's a little bit like Seattle, so it's never quite as cold by us as it is like inland Michigan, or like Chicago would be colder because it's the other side of the lake.
Right.
Anyways, one thing that made me really happy I wanted to share, I was watching a football game or something, and my dad turned to me and said, I've been trying to walk a lot on the treadmill downstairs. I'm like, oh, cool, good for you. And then he goes, I watched every Marvel project. He caught up on all of them by himself without telling me. So, he's already seen all the old stuff.
Right.
I didn't want to keep him in the loop. I didn't want to force him, I guess, with the new stuff. He watched it all on his own.
Oh, I love that.
And gave me like his review of each one, and I loved it so much. He loved She-Hulk. And that was like totally unbiased. I didn't talk to him at all. In fact, I told him, hey, the humor is not really going to be your thing. Like, that's not my dad's humor. He loved it. He wants to now watch Daredevil. Yeah, Epic Hero Shop does.
She-Hulk boys.
That's right. If you're watching on YouTube, which by the way, shout out to our new YouTube page, we're both wearing our Epic Hero Shop Superhuman Law Division shirts. We did not plan that.
Nope.
But he wants to now go watch Daredevil, which is so funny.
Okay, nice.
Which is so funny. So like, it was fascinating to hear his quick, 30-second review of everything. It mostly lined up with how we felt and less of what I would have predicted. If that makes sense. So like he loved She-Hulk, thought it was so funny, so creative at the ending, he thought. He thought Thor Love and Thunder was good, but just a little like goofy at times, like a little too much for him. He didn't really like Multiverse of Madness and didn't really understand the Wanda side of it. But he really liked Miss Marvel. And what am I missing? He hadn't seen the special yet.
Oh, he maybe hasn't seen
that yet because that was in theaters, so he has to see that still. But I was proud of him, so shout out to my dad.
Man, we've already talked about this before, and we don't have enough time to talk about each of these projects. But just since you mentioned She-Hulk, I had a couple conversations over the break, and I still don't know how I feel in terms of what's the better sequencing. Like we talked about how they initially had the origin as like the next to last episode and moved it up. And I still like that for various reasons, but I'm also wondering more and more if that was a move that works well for us, like for the hardcore MCU fans, but maybe to the detriment of the casual viewers. Because I've found that when I talk to people that have only seen episode 1 or 2 of She-Hulk, they often, I think, kind of dropped off there. And I'm always like, no, but you're not really getting into the meat of what the show is yet. Like, sure. I like those first 2 episodes, but they're very different than the rest of which is why, we were so excited once people finally got caught up in real time. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that your dad watched through the whole thing. And I've been trying, there are people in my life that and I haven't done that about a lot of the Disney Plus shows, but I have really felt like I want people to make it through to She-Hulk because I think it's one of the best things that came out last year, but we'll talk about that.
I was thinking more from the perspective of, my dad knows nothing about Daredevil, the character. He knows nothing of the Netflix series. And it warms my heart that his 1 30-second review was, oh my goodness, I loved this Matthew guy and I need to learn more about him. Like it just fits so perfectly. He was so charming. It was so fun. And like, take that with a grain of salt relative to the hours and hours and hours we spent debating those 2 projects last year. So it's kind of fun to just hear like a totally third-party perspective. I guess it kind of proves that Disney knows what they're doing a little bit to at least some demographic,
Yeah, no, for sure. I
also wanted to add that, so I watched 3 other films. I did watch Glass Onion. Very much enjoyed it.
Good.
Very much enjoyed it. I really love the genre, and this is like not normally like me, but I'm totally excited for them to just pump these out. Like, make fun because they're so standalone. It's not like I am not the sequel guy, but it doesn't feel like a sequel. You can just make fun little murder mysteries. And I loved this one in particular that, like in the first movie, I don't want to spoil anything, but the reveal happens mid-movie. This was just kind of fun to go back to a classic feel a little bit where the reveal doesn't happen until 90% through. Yeah. So I truly didn't know what was going to happen, and I love those kind of films. So that was my review there. Secondly, I watched Spirited. Did you see Spirited on Apple TV?
Yeah.
Dude, okay, here's my thing. It is a musical. So if you don't like musicals, I get that. And it is a Christmas musical, so it's going to have some cheese. That's part of the gig. I was blown away at how good it was relative to those things. I am a musical guy. I think I thought it was going to be just a joke, a Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds joke. They're not going to actually embrace the musical. I didn't realize they literally created and shot a musical.
Yeah.
They got the cast, the dancers, the sets for it.
Yeah.
It's a modern musical in which neither Ryan Reynolds or Will Ferrell, they take it seriously. They don't not take it seriously. I thought it was going to be almost satire, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see them embracing actual heartfelt moments from a musical. And and it's funny, but that's not the point of it. I would say like it has 70% Rotten Tomatoes. Like I say with animated films, that's an incredible score for a musical.
Yeah.
Much less a comedy Christmas musical, because that's a movie that easily would be in the 50% range. Like 70% for that kind of movie is a pretty good score. And I watched it and I was like, this is fun. It's funny. It has a good message. It's heartfelt. And I liked the songs. So I liked it.
No, we watched it actually when we were up in Northwest Arkansas with Candace's family for Thanksgiving. Like it had just come out. And so we watched it then to kind of usher in the holidays. And yeah, I felt the same way. Like, I think I was just expecting it. Well, you and I share a love for Will Ferrell. And I say Will Ferrell, not Ryan Reynolds, because I don't think what I'm about to say applies to Ryan Reynolds. But Will Ferrell movies over the last like 10 years have not been excellent. Like, no. I feel like he's been, like, he's had a couple of like gems in there. But so I just kind of went into this.
You think what I'm thinking? Aim for the bushes.
Oh, well, that, man.
There wasn't even an awning or anything. Sorry.
But yeah, so I think my expectations were low. Yeah, creep.
Okay, come on now.
I think, but no, I agree. I thought it was really fun because it's funny. Ryan Reynolds, I would almost say, well, not that Will Ferrell himself brings those movies down, but I have noticed lately in randomly rewatching certain things with Ryan Reynolds, including Blade 3,
okay,
that even when a movie is not good, Ryan Reynolds tends to turn in a pretty great performance. Now, it's often a comedy performance, but I don't think that should take away from it. But like, I don't know. I've noticed, like, yeah, he's pretty solid. Like, we watched that, I think it was Red Notice movie on Netflix months back. And it's like him, Gal Gadot, and Dwayne Johnson. And
which got shredded, didn't it? Critically?
I think so. I can't really remember.
Keep talking, I'll fact check.
But I do know that when we were watching it, I was like, Dwayne Johnson is doing fine. Gal Gadot is doing fine. Ryan Reynolds is doing great. Like, he's kind of carrying this thing. Like, I think he's kind of maybe underrated as someone that can hold a picture together.
36% critic.
Wow.
92 audience.
I will say we had fun watching it.
Yeah, well, that's,
so, you know,
that's what that's saying.
There are a couple things like that I still haven't seen Gray Man. Have you? Yes,
it's a pretty good action movie.
Because that's another one that I feel like audiences were pretty into and critics shredded.
Yeah. It's better than the critic score for sure. And just to kind of put a bow on the Will Ferrell conversation and reiterate what you said, he is one of the most naturally funny people to me in Hollywood. Like, he doesn't have to try to be funny and it's funny. Like, just his responses, even in like late night show interviews and stuff. But he kind of has a unique spot in Hollywood because while that's true, and he's like top of the list of people I'd want to spend a day with, he is not always in great movies at all. In fact, he's like 50-50. There are some films like, you know, Old School, Elf, Talladega Nights, Anchorman, the other guys, where he's like a slam dunk. It's one of the funniest movies of the year. And then he's in like, what is it? Not Land Before Time, but disaster film that I saw with the dinosaurs.
Yeah. That Holmes movie that I didn't see, but I think got like 1% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Like, it was like one of the lowest scores I've ever seen.
But it's not really a knock on him. It's just he's sometimes in bad movies. It's a weird thing. But this is a good one. This is closer to Stranger Than Fiction in a way to me.
Okay, man. So that's an interesting. That's a discussion for later, as people that both love Will Ferrell in a world that finds Will Ferrell to be somewhat polarizing, but like,
he's not polarizing, right?
Nobody in my life he is. Like,
nobody dislikes him because all of his humor is self-depreciating.
I don't know.
Like, nobody hates him.
I don't think people dislike him as a person. I do know a lot of people that find his comedy annoying, which I think is interesting. I'm not that way.
Those people,
but like, Candace's mom is that way. What my friend Emily that you know is that way. Like,
What?
If
Emily,
I turn on Elf for
Emily.
Christmas, just hates it.
That I'm getting mad. I'm feeling myself like get mad. That's just wrong.
You know what?
Okay, hold on. I'm not getting that discussion, but that's
Right.
a garbage take.
That's a take we can have. Hey, we've said we're going to expand. We're going to expand some of the Friends from Work coverage here in season 4. Let's
you can
talk Will
dislike
Ferrell.
his humor a little bit, but it's hard to dislike him as a person because his humor is always self-depreciating. Secondly, even if you dislike his humor, who dislikes Elf?
Yeah. I mean, hey, you're preaching to the choir here.
Okay. Anyway,
But I will say,
we need to move
I think we do need to move on. I would love to talk, if we ever do get to have a Will Ferrell discussion, about some of the drama with him and Adam McKay over the last year or two, because I think that
which I don't know about.
Well, it's interesting.
Oh boy, I maybe shouldn't have started that.
No. I'm not going to go into it now, but I think that he was wanting a role in the that Lakers show that Adam McKay made on I think HBO with John C. Reilly.
Showtime Lakers stuff. Yeah.
He wanted the role that John C. Reilly got. He and Adam McKay have been producers, joint producers in the Gary Sanchez studio production company, whatever you call it, and
a ton of their stuff. Their famous stuff.
Yeah, and essentially this caused a rift that resulted in the breaking up of that production company.
Oh.
And because Will Ferrell wanted the role, Adam McKay gave it to John C. Reilly without telling Will Ferrell. This is by Adam McKay has admitted this and admitted that he could have handled it better. But apparently Will Ferrell was really excited to have a serious role like that again, and one that he felt like he could kind of crush. And when he didn't get it I think they're still not really. It has the makings of like a Bill Murray, Harold Ramis thing, where it's like they aren't really on speaking terms as far as I know.
That's too bad.
But anyway,
All right.
That's for later. We have. You have trivia updates.
Yeah, I have one more trivia update, and then we're going to get into the Friendly Awards, which is something I've been so excited about forever. So we'll tell you about that in 1 second. Lastly, the last movie I watched over break was Avengers Endgame. We've talked about it forever. It's never worked as well as it worked for me the other day. It is
I love that.
So good. And just to put a final bow on why I'm okay with, in our joint rankings, moving this to the #1 film.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch those movies back to back, it's obviously everything. It's a masterclass. It's a masterpiece. It's DeRusso's like, I mean, I just can't believe how well they handled it. It's hard to put into words. I think if you break it into categories and say visuals, you got to give the nod to Infinity War. There are like 4 shots in Endgame that are a little bit off looking or goofy looking with the CGI. And if you're giving the pacing, you still got to give it to Infinity War because it's just so perfectly paced. Now, Endgame this last time was even better paced than I ever remember it. Like I never felt like it dragged on this viewing. But Infinity War is like perfection in that category. That would be like what I would show people if that's what they wanted. But I think ultimately one thing I've undersold in this entire discussion, the acting is it's not even that they're giving better performances, but because the weight of the film, which is the second category that Endgame wins, like because of what it is and because of the emotional damage from Infinity War, it allows these elite actors to flex their acting muscles way more than they can in Infinity War. Infinity War is basically built on the action, the visuals, the ending, and the fact that we're getting to see these groups together. Because even Endgame, we don't get to see these groups together. We don't get to see Doctor Strange and Tony and the Guardians. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't see Guardians and Spider-Man in Endgame. So that's what Infinity War is so good at. But Endgame, because of that damage, dude, the performances are elite from everybody. It was like everyone collectively got together and was like, okay, now I'm going to give like my character so much depth. I mean, Thor is unbelievable in that film, Chris Hemsworth, in what he's doing. And especially by the ending with the let me do it has to be me. Tony, obviously, and Steve, the way they're both dealing with it, unbelievable performances. Scarlett is fantastic. Jeremy Renner, it's his best he's ever done. It really is. Like the way he handles Scarlett's death is incredible acting. I know some people don't love him, but like he's fantastic in the movie. Everybody, I'm missing people. Even, Rocket's voice acting, It's just, that's where you don't get that in Infinity War. So that's why I think, because it's carrying that weight and what it had to do. I know we've said that so many times. And because I just have undervalued the ability for these people to like flex their acting muscles, I'm going to give it the number one. Plus, I think in 20 years, that's the movie people will still talk about more than Infinity War. Like, that's the cultural moment, that movie.
And I do think someone on our Slack, and if you remember, you should say I want to say it was either Richard or Greg or both, but made the point that you almost have to view them, Infinity War as the culmination of Phase 3 and Endgame as the culmination of the entire Infinity Saga, in terms of the work they're doing. And that made a lot of sense to me.
Because also you don't get hardly any action in Endgame. So if you just watch it by itself, you don't get hardly any, period.
Yeah.
But that's because Infinity War is all of it. So if you watch them back to back, you're like, oh, this makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, and even like looking at Endgame that way, it makes sense to me why you don't just have the original 6. You also have Rhodey, and you have Okoye and Rocket as kind of representations of really like all of the aspects of the MCU that we've gotten to know over the Infinity Saga. So I'm glad that it worked so well for you. I'm excited to get to it in mine.
It's so good. And in closing, that brings me to my last trivia question of the first 3 phases of my rewatch.
Wow.
So here we go. Avengers Endgame. I think maybe the hardest one I've ever done.
Wow.
Because I've never caught this line in the 10 times I've seen this film. Ever. So there's a scene where Thor goes back to Asgard with Rocket, and he's trying to sneak away from his mom, and his mom is walking with some other like maidens or whatever.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And he overhears them. Okay? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
When he overhears them, his mom is telling them to do something. In fact, she's telling them they need to do 2 things. Do you have any idea what are her 2 instructions?
Oh, gosh.
It's so hard to hear, and I only caught it partially because of subtitles.
I think I know what they're about, but I cannot remember the actual lines.
For fun, then, I'm going to give that clue. They're things to do for Loki.
Okay.
Because he's in prison.
Wow. Okay, I have not caught that then.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay, I love that.
Yeah. So,
man,
there you go. All right, dude, the Friendly Awards.
Yes.
Let's go. So if you're just finding this podcast, you can now watch this podcast on YouTube by searching Friends from Work. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. We have a website, the ffwpodcast.com, where you can message us. We try to answer all those messages, and we have a bunch of social media outlets where we answer messages. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, like I said, all of that stuff. So we have some fun merchandise on our website, and we have partnered with Epic Hero Shop, like this shirt I'm wearing right here, for even more fun nerd merchandise. So all kinds of ways that you can get involved if you're just finding Friends from Work. This is something that we do once a year, and it's a very special thing. This is just the nominees episode where we will be diving into our award show and the nominees and who should be deserving of an award in the MCU in 2022. And so we'll get into that with some instructions on how you can vote.
All right. Let's get into the nominations for our 2023 Friendly Awards. Wow.
It's so bad. It's so
Couple things quickly. One, like you said, in case people forgot, the way that these work, we put together some nominations, but we do not do any of the voting. We try to be as we're looking at this, try to be as inclusive and sort of as encompassing as we can throughout everything that's come out in 2022. But, we only have so much space. I know there's going to be something someone wishes were included, and I'm sorry, but this is what we have. However,
And we've basically voted for the last year already. So if you want to know what our votes are, go listen to all the episodes.
secondly, yeah, the way that these are actually chosen, again, it's by the patrons, by our Friends from Work Plus subscribers. So this episode, whenever we send out the ad-free version of this to our subscribers, as we do to our patrons, they will get in that post a link to a SurveyMonkey where you can go on and actually vote for these. We will also have a printable paper ballot, PDF, like we did last year. If you're just a listener on the main feed and want to be able to follow along, and we encourage you to, fill out your own ballot, post it online, tag us in it. That was really fun last year. It won't count into the actual awards, but it is kind of fun to play along. So that's how we're doing the voting. If you have any questions on that, message us. But if you're listening to this ad-free on Patreon right now, then you should already have access to the voting form.
Love it.
Last thing, I am so excited for this year's Friendlies because it feels so different from last year in that I kind of think it's anyone's game in a lot of these. Like, I was thinking back to the Friendlies last year, and it was like, it felt like anytime you put No Way Home in a category, it was going to win.
Spider-Man ruined it for the rest of us.
Yeah. And anytime you put WandaVision or Loki in a category,
that's true.
It felt like one of those were going to win. And so I don't know. I was looking through this year, and there are a couple like that. But by and large, it really feels like these could go anywhere.
What a good point.
So I've been especially pumped for this one.
I'll keep my tradition going of, as we announce them next week, the winners, of doing a tally of each show and movie and which one is the best, not the best, but the biggest award winner.
Yeah, I love that. And also, we're not going to do much discussion here. One, because we have a lot of things to read off, and two, because we'll do more of that next episode whenever we cover the winners.
Yep.
Okay, so starting off here. Best addition to the MCU of 2022.
Oh, baby. I'm excited.
Here are nominees. Mark Spector / Stephen Grant / Moon Knight from Moon Knight. America Chavez from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Khan from Ms. Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Walters / She-Hulk. Jack Russell / Werewolf by Night. Also, Elsa Bloodstone from Werewolf by Night. Riri Williams, a.k.a. Ironheart, sort of. I don't know if she's considered that yet in the MCU. And Namor. From Wakanda
I need to
Forever.
get like a music bed going underneath or something.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
I know we should.
That's a category that might be even stronger than last year, because like you were saying, like last year was WandaVision, Loki, not necessarily new additions. Those are almost all new additions that are like slam dunks.
Yeah, and I feel like it's interesting. I want to say Yelena won that last year.
Okay.
But okay,
I love that.
Best
Category number
team
2.
up. Yeah. And we've had a couple categories swap out from last year, and which will happen just based on the type of content that we get.
Sure.
Last
Best
year
team up.
we had a best little buddy, and we just don't necessarily have enough little buddies this year. Although we did have shout out to the goats and to Cosmo,
and the goldfish,
Okay.
Which was
best
actually
team up.
more really sad and representation of his grief, but yeah.
Okay.
But it was cute.
It was cute. Steven and Layla from Moon Knight. We'll team up.
Mm-hmm.
I chose Steven and Layla over Mark and Layla because I feel like the Steven and Layla team up was especially fun there.
I feel like Steven eventually kind of won her over, even though it's Mark's wife.
Doctor Strange and America Chavez.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala and the Red Dagger. I thought that was one of the fun team ups there.
Okay.
Thor and Thor. Thor and the Mighty Thor from Thor Love and Thunder. Jack and Ted from Werewolf by Night.
Okay.
I liked it.
That's a
She-Hulk
great
and
team up.
Daredevil from She-Hulk.
I mean, fantastic team up, yes.
Black Panther.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, true.
Sorry. Keep going.
Black Panther and Ironheart from Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
Drax and Mantis from the Guardians Holiday Special. I know they're already on a team together, but it felt like its own thing there. And last but not least, Wong and Madison from She-Hulk.
Oh, gosh.
Dream team.
They're not where you think.
Okay. Best jaw drop.
And
of
by the way,
2022.
we got to say, I have glanced at this list, but mainly this is put together by you and our manager, Pete. So that's kind of the fun. Like, I am a little bit genuinely surprised because I just kind of like flew through it.
And again, like I said with the watch order, shout out to Greg for some help here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, best jaw drop. One, Wanda's Apple Orchard.
Oh,
Pretty big
wow.
jaw drop moment.
I love this category. Is this new?
It is new. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is
'Cause
a Pete suggestion.
These are my scenes. So by the way, I'm guessing you got to have Moon Knight episode 4 in there because my jaw literally was to the floor when I was trying to record that episode with you. I still remember that. You remember that? I was in a hotel and I was just like, what? This is what you had seen? Hold on. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Announce the category.
Okay, second one, the M word from the Miss Marvel finale.
Okay.
Third, losing the plot, the She-Hulk finale where she breaks into the writer's room. Hippo in a hospital from Moon Knight, which is what you're referencing. Although it's really the whole scene, you know, it's the like old school TV show and all of it. And then Prince T'Challa from Wakanda Forever.
Okay. Real quick. One, I love you give these creative titles. You are so creative and I love it so much. It makes me laugh. It's so good.
Thank you.
But also so ridiculous that you can't just blaze through it. You have to go really in depth, which I love. Secondly, do you remember that fun story of my screener had cut out before the end of episode 4? So they're like going through the cave and my thing cut out. So I waited like 5 weeks, I think 6 weeks maybe of real time. And you never could, you never said anything to me. You couldn't.
Brutal.
We got there and I was like, that was the end of the episode. He got shot, dies, wakes up in like this crazy 50s movie or something.
Yeah.
Like what?
Really, I mean, I was the victim there. Really,
were,
just
yeah.
having to
That's
suffer
the
in
point of my
silence. But no, I love this category too.
That's for you being the victim.
Thank you. The only project that wasn't really represented here was Thor: Love and Thunder, which I felt didn't have a jaw drop moment per se. But
Yeah, not in the way we're defining it right now.
yeah, I mean, there are certainly shocking moments, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Best action sequence. This one's fun for you, I think.
Yeah.
First off, from Moon Knight, 2 identities, 1 beatdown. Referring to the final fight, or one of the scenes of the final fight in the finale where we kind of have Mark and Steven seamlessly switching out different Moon Knight and Mr. Knight personas.
I'm picturing like when he gets knocked into like the bodega and then
That's what I'm picturing,
comes
yeah.
out. Yeah. Okay. The other guy. Yeah.
Man, that's one I'm really excited to rewatch. I think I've only ever seen Moon Knight just the once, because the last big rewatch we did was in prep for Moon Knight. So
Yeah.
okay, for Miss Marvel, cart chase through Karachi.
These titles. Excellent action sequence.
It was, yeah. From Multiverse of Madness, Lethal Symphonies. I did steal that title from Danny Elfman, that's how we titled the track.
The music note fight.
The music note fight. Love and Thunder, the Shadow Realm fight, which
Yeah.
very fun. She-Hulk, that's not how that math works out. Which is when Daredevil and She-Hulk go through the warehouse together. And great shout out to the Daredevil hallway fight scenes. Great
Yes.
She-Hulk Daredevil banter. Great Hulk smashing scenes. all around really fun.
The exact same vibe as the Netflix show when just the door opens and the guys get kicked out of it, you know?
Uh-huh. Yes. Man, they're about to start. They're starting filming in February on that, by the way. So this is coming out in January. We're about to start getting some Daredevil updates. And finally, Namor and Shuri's fight on the beach in Wakanda Forever, which we talked about how we felt some elements of the fight on the big ship. Some of them were really cool. Like I thought Shuri on the side of the ship, like that whole sequence was really dope. And some of the other moments we get there, but there were also moments of it that I felt like were sort of meh. But I thought the beach scene, like the drama to it, the actual just hand to hand, her taking the feathered wings from his ankle, like some good visceral. I feel like that scene especially is exactly what you were talking about wanting more from in the first Black Panther film, like in the final scene between T'Challa and Killmonger.
The knife through her, and the damage of like the burning to his back. That is what I'm talking about. Yep.
All right, best villain. This is where it starts to get especially interesting. Arthur Harrow.
Yes.
The Scarlet Witch from Multiverse of Madness.
Although, sorry. I can't interject, but Arthur Harrow is so underrated. I think when I go back and rewatch, like I remember that was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. I love Wanda, but I was uncomfortable with her being the villain a little bit. So that's an interesting category.
I made a point to note it is the Scarlet Witch is the villain, not Wanda. Which I think are separate things, potentially. Gore the God Butcher from Thor: Love and Thunder. Verussa Bloodstone, who is the villain who gets her like arm ripped off in Werewolf by Night. The Intelligentsia from She-Hulk, and last but not least, Namor from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
I love this category.
Man, I think that one was stacked last year too, but that was just to say, we had a tweet about this a couple months back. Whatever critiques of Phase 4 are fair, and there are some, the villains have largely just been like on point. And so much of our initial rewatch conversation, going back to the Infinity Saga, we would talk about how for the longest time that wasn't the case. And now it's like an embarrassment of riches, I feel like.
I think there's 3 categories that they have drastically improved on when you watch all the films again and you go back to Phase 1 and 2 compared to now 3 and 4. The trailers are way better than they used to be. The music is way better than it used to be. And the villains are better than they used to be.
I totally agree. Also, talking about things that have improved, I would say this is sort of we had a while within the Infinity Saga that was sort of romance-less. Not as like we had a lot towards the beginning. Everyone kind of had a love interest. Then for a while, there wasn't much of that, and now we're coming back. Love is in the air again. Best romance.
It's almost Valentine's Day.
Best romance of 2022. This is fun. Steven and Layla, but also Mark and Layla. Aww. Two different nominations.
Do I have to do it for everyone?
Doctor Strange and Christine Palmer.
Aww.
Thor and Jane.
This is a little bit delayed. Sorry.
I like it. And of course, Jennifer and Matt Murdock.
Aww.
There we go. There's some serious contenders there.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
There are. The fun thing about this for me is I was going through and a lot of these, I don't know how I would vote.
Yeah.
And I like it that way.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was going to interject there. It's more fun for me, like you said, when it's not the obvious slam dunk. And I don't know. I love Steven and Layla.
Yeah.
I love the line between Strange and Christine at the end of that movie. Thor and Jane is incredibly moving. And Jennifer and Matt maybe, stole the show this year with romance.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Great category.
This is a great category coming up as well. Although I think I know which way I would vote on this one. Best Supporting Actress. We have May Kalamaui as Layla from Moon Knight. We have Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez from Multiverse of Madness. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie from Thor Love and Thunder. Angela Bassett as Queen Ramonda. And Ginger Gonzaga as Nikki Ramos from She-Hulk. Again, pretty stacked category here.
Those are awesome.
Dude, one thing I was realizing going through this year is the women actors and women characters in general just cleaned up. Like when I was looking at like, and not because there were just more of them. I think just like the performances there and the roles worked. Like I was looking at Best Actress and Best Actor, and Best Actor I had to kind of think back on for a while, but Best Actress I was like, how do I cull this down?
Totally agree. I think that'd be the fourth thing I'd have to add when you go back and rewatch. The women are better written, better acted, more empowered the later you get.
Given a lot more to do, I think.
Yep.
Best Supporting Actor, Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow.
Ooh,
F. Murray Abraham as Khonshu.
that's a bold choice.
Well, it was funny here. Last year we had a Best Voice Actor because we had
What If.
What If.
Gotcha.
And
Good point.
and so, but I think he added a lot to that show in his performance. I'm also probably biased because he's been killing it on White Lotus. Benedict Wong as Wong. I chose here because we have a couple of different appearances, mostly from Wong, to not make it project specific. So you can take all of his appearances into account here in voting. Matt Lentz as Bruno. Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky. And Tina Huerta as Namor. Okay, so this is another new category here. Best Surprise Appearance.
Ooh.
And I differentiate this from the next category, which is Best Extended Cameo, because we had a couple of projects, especially Multiverse of Madness and She-Hulk, that had kind of a lot of both of these, and I felt like it wasn't really fair to compare like a 30 seconds on screen to someone that had 2 or 3 episodes of a show. So you'll see what I mean.
Right.
And
This is more like when they showed up, you were like, holy crap, that person's here?
Right, exactly. So, Best Surprise Appearance. First, Haley Atwell as Captain Carter in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. John Krasinski as Reed Richards. Same movie. Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier in Multiverse of Madness. And finally...
That is still so wild.
It's wild. Charlize Theron as Clea in Multiverse of Madness. Moving to Miss Marvel. Brie Larson as Carol Danvers. In Love and Thunder, Melissa McCarthy as actor Hela. Brett Goldstein as Hercules.
Yeah.
Wakanda Forever, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. And JLD as Val. And then finally, Megan Thee Stallion in She-Hulk.
This will be interesting if people weight the most surprising one versus who did the best in their surprise role.
Yeah.
How do you see it kind of going? Most surprising?
I factor both, I think. Because, I mean, I don't... The most surprising is hard. It's hard for me.
John Krasinski or Patrick Stewart were the most surprising. As far as like, holy cow, they're here.
I think
but did they? Yeah, I don't know.
I think best surprise in terms of like the scene, like as I was thinking about these, because there are other choices we thought about that were either maybe could have been more surprising or just more meaningful in terms of their roles and things. But I was really thinking back to when you and I were watching the screeners, whether it was at home with Candace and Annika or like in the theater together, the moments when you were like, you looked over at the person next to you and you were like, what? And so that was like Melissa McCarthy. I heard a lot of people make that comment about Love and Thunder, like really liked that moment. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking, like a delightful surprise, if you will.
We were also in Hollywood for that. Should it,
Yeah,
it should
sure.
be noted that probably affects that. Also, I would tend to personally weight the non-post-credit scene surprises higher than the post-credit scene ones for me.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair.
But best extended cameo now, different.
Yes. Again, this is one that She-Hulk factors heavily in, just because of the nature of the show. First off, we have Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner.
Mm-hmm.
Benedict Wong, again, as Wong. Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky. Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. Then in Thor Love and Thunder, we have Russell Crowe as Zeus. Chris Pratt as Peter Quill. And finally, in the Guardians Holiday Special, Kevin Bacon as Kevin Bacon. Yeah. I actually really hope that Kevin Bacon wins this one.
Hey, no bias.
Okay. This is this is a super fun one for us. And another one I just don't know how I would vote on. Best score. Moon Knight by Hisham Nazi from the pod. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness by Danny Elfman. Miss Marvel by Laura Cartman, also friend of the pod. Thor Love and Thunder by Michael Cicchino. She-Hulk by Amy Doherty. Werewolf by Night by Michael Cicchino. Black Panther Wakanda Forever by Ludwig Göransson. And the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special by John Murphy.
Annika loves Werewolf by Night.
Dude, I do. I mean, you can
Side
tell
note.
it got a lot of representation here in the nominations. That's another one I'm really excited to rewatch. Okay. Best post-credit scene. This is a
just saying your
category.
titles.
This is a category that I wanted last year, and we just totally left off. We also kind of ran out of space, but this year, first nomination, Meet Jake, which is the post-credit
Yes.
scene from Moon Knight. Second, Pizza Papa. It's over.
Always gets paid.
Always gets paid. Multiverse of Madness. Miss Marvel.
Can I
The
quick say
mixed
something
up-
there?
What's that?
I got to quick say something.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Elfman, I saw this from one of our listeners on TikTok. I think it's the Danny Elfman score from Doctor Strange on vinyl is a complete book now. And
Yeah.
there's some version of it where it's an actual pizza menu with pizza
That's
Papa.
it's the Mondo edition.
Oh, is it? Okay,
yeah.
that's
I
so
pre-ordered
funny.
it. I'm
Okay,
very
okay.
excited.
So the song titles are like menu items, things like that. Really cool.
I was looking at that, and I need to go back and figure out what this means. But did you see the credits that were listed for the composers?
No.
I did not. Again, I need to look more into this, but he obviously credits Giacchino for the Doctor Strange theme. And so you have all these things composed by Elfman, and then under that, like bits of these tracks from the Giacchino score. But then he also credits Alan Silvestri for parts of the Illuminati themes. And I guess part of that is the Captain America theme that he does for Peggy. But I'm wondering if there's anything else there, because there are like 3 tracks. Anyway.
Danny Elfman has such a style. Dude, I was listening to our playlist and I don't always so exactly. I don't always prefer it, but if you blindfolded me and just played a random movie score that I'd never seen and you played me like an A/B test where one's Danny Elfman and one's somebody else, I think I'd be able to pick out the Danny Elfman one. And I was trying to put my finger on what it is. It's very strange. It's like you said this one time, he loves really busy things.
Yeah.
So like the moments don't really breathe much in his music. It's like so that's kind of what he does. And then the second thing is he never really lands on like it's like the opposite of a pop songwriter where it's like verse, chorus. He never really lands on like what would be the chorus or the theme.
Yeah.
Like if you think about his like New Avengers theme,
Right.
he never really lands and sits there where like Alan Silvestri will go like bum bum bum
Yeah.
bum like that, like the whole song was working for that to happen. Like even think about Danny Elfman's work on Spider-Man, right? So much of that first song is not the ba dun dun dun.
Right.
So much of the first song is like
Yeah.
and, like,
Although he
it's
at
like-
least
it's like
does
wandering.
land there.
Yeah, but like it's that part is literally like, I'm not making this up, 6 seconds. He lands on like a 6 second. I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying like the music is like, it's so wandering. And then in the wandering, you find some really cool emotional things, but it's just so different from a lot of the other composers. Like think about Hisham Nazi with how often he wants to land on the Moon Knight theme, right?
Right.
I don't know. So total tangent there.
No,
But
it's a good point though. I mean,
he
because
has
even if
a
you
very different thing.
Giacchino is an interesting one because I think he lives somewhere in the middle of Elfman and Silvestri, where sometimes he gets pretty busy. But like in the first Doctor Strange, like if you compared those scores, he's almost always returning to his Doctor Strange theme, like throughout the whole film. Whereas like I wouldn't say that even aside from the Doctor Strange theme, that Elfman does that even with like the Scarlet Witch theme that he kind of comes up with, or so even the film's theme.
Right. Well, he takes the one from WandaVision too, the ba da da da. But even that, he doesn't just leave it at that. He like da 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 da, like changes the progression there, and doesn't just like stop it like Christoph Beck would. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. I will say.
Anyways,
I also Sony finally for the first time ever released the first Spider-Man film score on vinyl, and that came in right around Christmas, and that's been a real joy to listen to.
Good for you.
I do think that's maybe my favorite Elfman work.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Okay.
The
Best
Spider-Man
post-credit
themes
scene.
have to have that mystery that he does. They have to. Even John Pizzino gets it right in the games.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, best post-credit scene, Meet Jake, Pizza Papa. That's where I interrupted you.
And then Mixed Up Marvels, which is the post-credit scene in Miss Marvel, where we see Carol Danvers pop up. Herc's there. Sorry. Herc's here. Herc's there. I'm not going to say the rest because it's not podcast family appropriate. But Thor Love and Thunder, that is a Ted Lasso reference for those that don't get it. That is referring to the Hercules appearance by Brett Goldstein. In that post-credit scene, Captain America, you know what's from She-Hulk. Another one that I have to be careful with to not get labeled explicit on this episode. What is your name? The post-credit scene from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And I Am Not Christmas, the post-credit scene from
Groot.
the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which I think I actually missed on our screener somehow. Like when we were watching through, like I didn't realize there was a credit scene or something, so I went back and watched it after the fact.
I would like to read the next category.
Please do.
It's the best episode of a series, and because we only had 3 series, Robbie and I had this discussion before we started. That's why I'm reading this one, of including 2 separate episodes from each series. So there's 6 options here. Moon Knight episode 4, which is where they're exploring the cave and the tomb, and then at the end he gets shot and goes to the asylum. Or Moon Knight episode 5, where he's fully in the asylum kind of the whole time, working through things with Harrow, etc., his past. Miss Marvel episode 1 we chose because we thought the series kicked off so unbelievable. Or episode 6, which is the finale, where she's in the school, etc. She-Hulk episode 8, which is when Daredevil shows up and they kind of take down the warehouse together. I think Daredevil actually made the appearance late in 7. Is that right? It's something like that. 8 is the main Daredevil episode.
Yes. Yeah.
And then that or episode 9, if you like the creativity of how different the finale was.
Love that. From here on, it's pretty straightforward. Best lead actor from 2022, Oscar Isaac as Steven/Mark/Moon Knight, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Gael Garcia Bernal as Jack Russell/Werewolf by Night, and Dave Bautista as Drax.
Yep.
Best Lead Actress, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff / the Scarlet Witch. I should say this is the only villain that makes an appearance in a lead category because I really think...
Yeah, she's the lead.
Yeah. So...
Also, just for consideration here, I think only consider her in Multiverse of Madness. This is not at all talking about WandaVision. Is that
well,
fair?
and this is only 2022. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So don't let the past appearances, like we're just talking about her in Multiverse of Madness.
Yes. Yeah. The only reason I said that for Wong is because he's had multiple in 2022. That's a good call.
Sure.
Okay. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. You see what I'm saying? This is stacked. Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters / She-Hulk. Laura Donnelly as Elsa Bloodstone in Werewolf by Night. Letitia Wright as Shuri / Black Panther. And Palm Clementieff as Mantis. I'm sure that I butchered her name. She's French, so Candace could probably do a better job of that.
I think that was right.
Wow, thank you.
But I'm not totally sure.
Okay, best writer / writing team. This gets difficult because we kind of have to pick certain episodes that we just enjoyed the writing on. However, I think that it's fair in some ways to look beyond the exact episode choice. Like having talked to Zeb and Cody and Jessica when they were on, like I think it's pretty clear that everyone kind of has their hands in different things story-wise and what's going to hand off to what. So if this is not the exact episode that you love, but you thought that this show was super well written in general, you can let that way in.
I see what you're saying.
Okay, so first off, we have Peter Cameron and Sabir Pirzada writing Moon Knight episodes 3, 4, and 6. Peter Cameron, by the way, is showing up in a ton of writing credits in Phase 4. He was also the head writer on Werewolf by Night. And
really?
I believe he showed up on either WandaVision or Loki at one point.
Is he becoming Marcus and McFeely of Phase 4, 5, 6?
Maybe. I think especially on Disney Plus. I think he's showing up on the TV side a lot. Michael Waldron, Multiverse of Madness. I think on this list, aside from James Gunn, I think he's maybe the only solo writer. We'll see. Will Dunn, A.C. Bradley, friend of the show, and Matthew Chauncey for Miss Marvel, specifically episode 6. Taika Waititi and Jennifer Caton Robinson for Thor: Love and Thunder. Zeb Wells for She-Hulk episode 7. And I know, but I still really love the writing on that episode in particular.
Also, shout out Jessica Gao there.
For sure. And that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
Jessica Gao.
That one in particular was very collaborative between a bunch of people.
Exactly. And I think she should get credit for just the writing quality for that show in general as the one that was sort of she was the head writer, but also I have to imagine everything was kind of filtered through her.
Both friends of the pod.
Yes. Wakanda Forever, Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special written by James Gunn. Best Director. Again, you can kind of think about this the same way if you want. Mohamed Diab, Moon Knight episodes 1, 3, 5, and 6. But again, also kind of the he and Jeremy Slater were the showrunners of sorts. Jeremy Slater being the head writer and Mohamed Diab.
I'm sure he was there for the
director.
entire thing.
Right. Sam Raimi, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Adil and Bilal, Miss Marvel, episodes 1 and 6. Taika Waititi, Thor: Love and Thunder. Kat Coreau, She-Hulk, episodes 1 through 4 and 8 through 9. Michael Giacchino for Werewolf by Night. Ryan Coogler for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and James Gunn for the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Dude, that may be the hardest category we've ever had to choose. since we've been doing the friendlies, I legitimately don't know which one I would pick, and I could make a case for all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
I'm excited to talk
like,
about this one.
Whether
when
you
we get
like
the
Sam
winners.
Raimi or Taika or not, they clearly left their stamp. So some people are going to really love that. Some won't. James Gunn, like, for a holiday special, crushed it. But
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Coogler or Giacchino maybe could take that
Giacchino
award.
even. Yeah.
I know, that's
mean,
what I'm saying. But then, like, the Miss Marvel episodes were no joke.
Right. Yeah, especially the ones
that one's crazy.
that they worked on, yeah. Well, and speaking of Giacchino, who, geez, what a year he's had in general.
Good point.
Best Special Presentation, Werewolf by Night, and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Only two
It'd be
entries.
the first year where we could have somebody win Best Score and Best Director.
True. That's wild. Best Series, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, or She-Hulk are your options there. Best Film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and...
Well, so obviously you don't have a whole lot of options there, which is
Right.
crazy. It felt like there was more content than even those 6 things.
Right.
That being said, I am stoked to see how this falls because
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know necessarily where our audience stands on those. Like, what is the best show?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what's crazy is there isn't a No Way Home here or
Yeah, right.
a Loki or a WandaVision, you know? So I really and in closing that out, and we'll talk about all of that more on next episode, but that's I think what's so cool about the last year. Like I know that it also means we have movies that are polarizing and some that people just don't like maybe for the first time, like, but I don't know. I think it's fun to see things that people like that aren't I like that it's not just like, well, yeah, you know, we all love this. So like I like that we can have some discussion.
Well, and that's where I wonder if people are going to separate Best Director from their favorite film of the year. Like, are
Yeah.
you able to say this was the best directed movie, even though this is the best movie? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think
Because you're right. Like with No Way Home, we were just like, well, that was the best movie. So best director, best, just give it to him.
Right,
And it's
right.
like, well,
yeah, I mean, for example, even some of the reviews that I saw that were not particularly high on Multiverse of Madness often shouted out Raimi's direction
sure.
as, so anyway, which you either kind of also love or hate.
But we're doing one final new thing here. for the year.
Yeah. Two entries here for the first time that I think are going to be really fun. And, these are a little bit hard by their nature and different from everything else. We're going to have a most anticipated film and series of 2023 category. This, like I said, schedule shift. So there may be more series than this, than what's currently announced. But this is what we know for sure is supposed to happen next year. So first, most anticipated series of 2023: Secret Invasion, Loki Season 2, and Ironheart.
I'm casting my vote for Secret Invasion.
Wow. Finger on the scale. Most anticipated film of 2023.
Because it's anticipated, it's not really an award. I'm just choosing that
How
one.
dare you? Most anticipated film of 2023: Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and The Marvels.
I can't decide this one. It's one of the first two for me. I've said Ant-Man so many times. But it could be Guardians. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Guardians trailer
Yeah, exactly.
almost like...
It's almost swayed me.
Yeah, and I loved the Quantumania trailer too. It's just, it doesn't have that emotional gut punch that the Guardians one does.
There you go.
Okay, those are our 2023 Friendly Awards nominees.
Nominees.
And like we said, if you are listening to this through the Patreon app or on the Apple Podcast Friends from Work Plus channel there. You should already have access to your voting ballot. If for some reason you don't, shoot us a message on our website or on Patreon or wherever, and we'll make sure that we get that to you. If you are a Friends from Work Plus subscriber. And if you're not a Friends from Work Plus subscriber and you listen to all this and you would like to vote, there's still time. You have a week from the day this episode releases to get your votes in, and then we will announce those winners next Thursday.
And if you subscribe, it's $5 a month, and maybe you want to do it just for this month. Who knows?
It's true. Yeah, there's no commitment. We talk about how fun it is in Friends from Work Plus, but yeah, it is $4.99 a month, and there's no, you can choose to pay annually, but you don't have to do so. You can just come on for a month, see how you like it, and dip out if it's not your thing.
As you mentioned, you can also be subscribing now on Apple, which is different. If you're an Apple subscriber that doesn't have access to Patreon, shoot us an email. Like, go to our website and hit the contact form, and we'll send you the ballot. Because I don't think they have we'll figure that out. But if you want to be involved, send us an email.
And by the way, not that I'm trying to get people to cheat the system here, but if you do want to try it out, Apple Podcasts does give you an opportunity that you don't get via Patreon, which is to try it for 3 days or 5 days?
Yeah.
Free, like a little free trial option. So you can always try that too.
You know, if just 10,000 of you want to just do $5 for this month, we'll take it. So
yeah, don't think that we would mind you doing that. I know that
right.
Like
we'll let it slide this time. We'll let it slide. We'll get you the ballot.
It'll be fine. Just don't ever worry that you're subscribing or giving us too much support. I know that that's a concern, but there it is.
That's for the 10,000 people that just did that. Thank you so much for listening. Like he said, get your ballots in if you're a Friends from Work Plus subscriber. And then next week we will announce the winners, which is a really fun episode to do. So we're looking forward to that. And don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, you can click like and subscribe down here. It makes it easier to get the videos whenever we post them. Otherwise, don't forget to follow us on Spotify. I think it's like us or follow us on Apple. And we'll be in touch. And then after the awards are finished, we're getting really, really close to Ant-Man when Robbie and I are going to see it and start ramping up for the first entry into Phase 5. So post the awards season, we'll start the saga so far, and we have a cool interview to share about Ant-Man, just some stuff to get ramped up. So lots coming. We're excited to do that episode next week. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time here on Friends from Work.